So welcome back to another video. Today we have got my FPL Game Week 6 best wildcard team. Now, a lot of people wildcarded in Game Week 6, and I do think a lot of people are planning to wildcard as well in Game Week 7. They got a little more data, and there'll definitely be a few more decisions that are different to what the Game Week 6 wildcard was. So, if you do enjoy this video, and do drop a like on it, and do subscribe to this channel, it would be very much appreciated. It takes 1 second to subscribe, and we do all the latest FPL content, all the latest news, everything about that. So we'll jump straight into the video and show you my best Game Week 7 wildcard team. So we'll start off with the defence and goalkeeper, and we'll start off with our first goalkeeper. It is David Raya of Arsenal. Now, Arsenal didn't keep a clean sheet against Leicester. Their XG conceded was very decent actually. Despite conceding 2 goals, Leicester were, they were lucky to even come away with 1 goal, let alone 2 goals in that match. So just an off day really, and it happens. You can't keep a clean sheet every game for an Arsenal defence, but for me personally, I'd still back the Arsenal defence. I know it's 1 week, and we've seen Arsenal. We saw all the data from last season, and we've seen all the data from the start of this season that we know that Arsenal's defence is one of, if not the best, in the whole of the Premier League. So for me, David Raya is just a season keeper. Keep him in goal, and don't worry about him. So, I mean, if you wanted to, of course, you can have different variations of this team. If you wanted to swap a few players around, that's absolutely fair enough. So, you can just, these are kind of the players that I like personally the most, but you might like some other players yourselves. So, carrying on with the theme of the Arsenal, we are going to go for Gabriel as our defender. We've seen Gabriel's goal threat, how many goals he scored over the course. I think it's like 16 goals over the last 4 years or something for Arsenal in general, which is a crazy stat for a centre back. Just his attacking threat is at a different level from the set pieces. And as a centre back, just as I say, unbelievable attacking threat, definitely worth it, and he's nailed on pretty much at the moment in that Arsenal team as well. Then we have Jacob Greaves now. I mean, it could be any 4 million defender. Ipswich defensively haven't looked the best at all so far this season. They've conceded in every single game and multiple goals in pretty much all of them as well, bar literally 1 game pretty much where they kept a clean sheet against Brighton. Other than that, they've conceded goals left, right, and centre. So, but still for me, Jacob Greaves is a 5th defender. You're never really going to play him. He will be my 4 million defender. Then we have Konate. Now, it is obviously a little bit risky, but the way he started the season for Liverpool, he did kind of make a mistake, but he did also score against Wolves as well. So for me, he's nailed on in that side at the moment. I don't think Quanta's getting in anytime soon. Obviously, the question is, can he stay fit for the whole season? But right now, he's got good fitness, and he's been playing amazing as well. And he has got a goal threat from set pieces as well. He scored 1 in the Champions League and now 1 in the Premier League as well. So there's a goal threat from set pieces. So I like him at 5.1 million. Offers decent buy. Obviously no Trent, but you'll see later why there's no Trent in this team. Then we have Rico Lewis at 4.7 million. This is again a bit of a risk. It's a bit of a guessing game whether will he play or not. It's one of them. We'll see how many minutes he gets in the Champions League. But if he's starting most of these games in the next few games for City, it's an amazing run of fixtures now for City coming up. I'd want a piece of that defence. You could maybe say downgrade him elsewhere, maybe go to Gvardiol, who's maybe he is more nailed than Rico Lewis. But for me, Rico Lewis is a risk, and for me, he is worth taking. Then we have Ola Aina as our 5th defender, he'll be our 4th defender in line. Our starting through will mostly be Gabriel, Konate, and Lewis. But Aina as well, Nottingham Forest defensive numbers have been very, very good so far this season. One of the best outside of the Big 6. If not, it might even be the best. And Ola Aina has got a slight attacking threat going forward as well. And Nottingham Forest, as I say, they have actually looked decent, especially defensively, and they've looked decent full stop so far this season. So Ola Aina would be my player who I'd have as a 4.5 million defender. Again, as I say, you can maybe change him to someone who you maybe prefer, but for me personally, I like Ola Aina the most. And overall, I think that back line does look very decent. For the next game week at least anyway, you've got Gabriel, Konate, and you'd hope that Lewis would start against Fulham. And with Raya in goal, you've got those 3 that you're starting there, all 3 of the best defence in the league in Man City, Arsenal, and Liverpool. So you've got a combination of those 3 with Ola Aina, who, as I say, is one of the best defence outside of the Big 6 in Nottingham Forest. You've got a nice combination there, in my opinion. Obviously, as I say, a couple of risks with maybe Konate and Lewis down to their minutes and injury. But as of that, right now, I personally really like that defensive lineup. So now moving on to our midfield, and this is where it gets quite interesting. So we'll start off with Bukayo Saka. Now, I mean, he didn't return in the last game against Leicester. He did somehow manage to pick up 3 bonus points, which is unbelievable for a player who, when there was a game where there was 6 goals in it, 2 for Leicester and then 4 for Arsenal, for a guy who's got none of the contributions to come out with 3 bonus points is absolutely absurd. So I don't know how he's managed to fluke that one. But I'm not complaining. You got a 5-pointer, which obviously isn't great when you compare it to Cole Palmer later on, who we'll talk about. but he's technically got more than 2 or 3 points in every single game week so far this season. So the numbers are still very good, consistent. Nothing to write home about for Saka, but the fixtures coming up are still nice for Arsenal, and you know what you're going to get from Saka. You are going to get returns, which, he is worth a lot of money. Of course, you're expecting that, but he has got that consistency and guaranteed minutes as well. For me, Saka, I'd want to stick with him personally. Then we've got Morgan Rogers as a budget enabler in this team. We do have 0.4 million as well left over, so you're quite easy to be able to get to this team despite the price rises on these players. You should be able to anyway. Morgan Rogers, another goal, or a goal today against Ipswich at the time of recording this video was today, and then 2 assists in the previous game week as well. So he's really starting to get the returns. He's shown in the first 4 weeks that he can potentially get the returns, but without actually getting any. And now he's shown that he actually can contribute in the attacking third and get attacking output, which is very nice. The price point, as I said at the start of the season, if you've been watching my TikTok, he's the best 5 million midfielder, and he has been since the start of the season. And now it's nice to see that he's got the contributions to back that up as well. Then moving on to our third midfielder, we've got Tyler Diblin. Now this is mainly to fund the Palmer. You have to kind of downgrade some players, and Tyler Diblin is that player that I've downgraded. He's an 8th midfielder. In this team, he would have to play Rodgers week in, week out, but if Rodgers keeps his starting place, which I'm sure he will do, Rodgers remains an excellent option, and he's undervalued at 5 million or 5.1, whatever you're going to bring him in at 5.2, whatever he is now. He's very undervalued in my opinion. So I'd be happy to start Rodgers week in, week out. And Tyler Diblin is a player that can come into your team for games where Southampton do have good fixtures. He returned against Ipswich. He won a penalty as well against United, but Southampton failed to convert that penalty. But in a game where, you're talking about another mid-table Premier League team, Southampton are playing them at home, honestly, I wouldn't mind playing Tyler Diblin in that game. He plays as well on Monday night against Bournemouth, so we'll see how he gets on against them. I'm sure he'll be starting, and hopefully he can then put in another impressive performance there just to back up this case even more. Then we have Bryan Mbeumo. It's an absolute lock-in your team. I don't even think it really needs to be discussed. The fixtures long-term and short-term for Brentford are amazing, and Bryan Mbeumo, absolutely amazing value, needs to be in your team. I just think, return again. He scored in the opening 30 seconds 2 weeks in a row. 100%, he's one to just put in your team, and he's not even a question mark over him. Then moving on to our 5th midfielder, it is Cole Palmer. Now, after that 4 goals, he can't be ignored. His contributions is insane. 6 goals, 4 assists in the opening 6 weeks of the Premier League season is just unbelievable numbers. Will he be able to keep it up at that rate? I don't think that's going to be able to happen to that rate. Obviously, scoring 4 against Brighton is absolute craziness. But he's done it before. He scored 4 goals against someone else before. I can't remember the top of my head. He scored a hat-trick as well. The guy bags goals for fun, and he gets returns. So he could just be a season keeper, set and forget. Even though the fixtures beyond Nottingham Forest aren't the greatest for Chelsea, I believe it's Liverpool away after that, Newcastle at home, United away, and then Arsenal at home, I think it is. So it isn't really a great run for Chelsea. But saying that, Cole Palmer can get returns against anyone, and he's Chelsea's talisman, and Chelsea have looked unbelievable so far this season, to be fair to them. So after seeing that performance, it's very, very difficult to not go for Cole Palmer, in my opinion. Now moving on to the front 3, the attack of this side. I really like the look of the attack. Dominic Solanke will start off with. I've had Solanke since game week 1. I had to hold him just because I had other transfers in my team, but I'm so glad that I held him, because he's been good since coming back from injury. Got a goal against Brentford, and then got a goal against United as well. And he could have got more in both of them games as well, which is obviously frustrating. But, the signs are there that Solanke is going to do really, really well at Spurs. You could argue Nicholas Jackson. A lot of people went for Jackson last week, but Solanke did. I think it was pretty even between. I think Jackson got 5 and Solanke got 6. There wasn't a lot between this week, but longer term Spurs' fixtures are better than Chelsea's. And you've already got Cole Palmer as well. Do you really want to double up on Chelsea when you can get Solanke, who's got, in my opinion, more minutes than Jackson, with Jackson being subbed off a few times at 60 minutes. And you think if Jackson puts in a couple of poor performances, Nkunku's breathing down his neck for that starting place at Chelsea. So the difference is with Tottenham, Solanke's pretty much got 90 minutes whenever he's been fit every single game. And there's not really anybody that's really going to take his place, because Spurs broke their record signing signing Solanke. You've got Richarlison coming back, but it could potentially take a few minutes off Solanke. But for me, in the long term, I'm far more secure on Solanke's minutes over Nicholas Jackson personally. So that's why I really like Solanke at 7.5 million. And he's not really that highly owned at all at the moment as well. I think his ownership will go up slowly, but I don't think it's going to go up too much this week as well. Brighton away isn't a bad fixture as well, coming up in the next game week. Then we do have as our next player Erling Haaland, do I really need to discuss? I know he blanked last week, of course, but it was always going to happen. He can't return every single game week. So, no debate, Erling Haaland is going in this team. And then as our final striker, we've got Chris Wood. And again, this could be any player around that kind of price point. You could go to Calvert-Lewin if you wanted to. João Pedro, if he's fit, is an amazing option. There's still Danny Welbeck as well. There's also Raul Jimenez, who's a little bit further down as well. So you can maybe downgrade Jimenez and then upgrade maybe a defender if you wanted to. There's plenty of different variations you can do, but for me, I've just put Chris Wood in there. Personally, he's looked good for Nottingham Forest over the course of not just this season. Last season as well, he scored 14 Premier League goals, which can't really be ignored. The fixtures after Chelsea for Nottingham Forest are quite nice. So, and Chelsea do concede goals as well, so I wouldn't even mind playing Chris Wood against Chelsea. I think Forest beat Chelsea last season as well at Stamford Bridge as well. So, for me, I'd just start Chris Wood. I'd bench Tyler Diblin and I'd play Rodgers against United. And in the long run, obviously the fixtures there, Chris Wood against Chelsea, Rodgers against United. I mean, Rodgers against United is probably a good fixture, to be honest, for Rodgers at this point. But I would be happy playing all them players, bar Tyler Diblin. But Tyler Diblin, as I say, is an 8th midfielder. He'll only play when you absolutely need him to. And if he's got a good fixture, of course, and maybe one of your other players has a bad fixture, Tyler Diblin would then come in. And as I say, with this wildcard, you kind of got to be building for the long term as well. If you're wildcarding in game week 7, it's an early wildcard. You're not going to get another wildcard for at least like 12 more game weeks, and you might want to hold it for even longer then. So this is a team that's got to be thought about the long term. You've got season keepers, in my opinion, like Erling Haaland, if he's fit, of course. If they're all fit, this is. Cole Palmer looks like a season keeper. Bukayo Saka for me is a season keeper. Raya and goals a season keeper, and maybe even a Gabriel as well as a double up is all season keepers there. And then the other players, just kind of swap it around and play the fixtures, and I think you've got a really good set of players there. So let me know what you think of that team in the comment section down below. Thank you very much for watching this video. Do subscribe if you are new around here. I do daily FPL content. As I say, drop a like, it'd be very much appreciated. And thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.